The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Ballroom at the Riverside Country Club cast a deceptively warm glow over our 10th anniversary celebration. 200 guests in evening wear sipped champagne we couldn't afford, celebrating a success that didn't exist. Victoria, my mother-in-law, had insisted on throwing this lavish party. Darling, your 10th anniversary is also the 10th year of your business empire. We must celebrate properly. She overridden our protests about the cost with her usual wave of perfectly manicured fingers. I'm handling everything as always. Now she stood at the podium, resplendent in a new Versace gown, preparing to make her grand announcement. My husband James shifted nervously beside me, tugging at his collar. He didn't know what I'd discovered in our accountant's latest report, didn't know about the meetings I'd had with bankruptcy attorneys all week. My dear friends and family, Victoria began, her voice carrying across the hushed room. 10 years ago, my son James married the lovely Rebecca. But they didn't just build a marriage, they built an empire. I felt the weight of the bankruptcy petition in my clutch bag. 15 businesses, all failing. 300 employees about to lose their jobs. Millions in debt that Victoria had promised to cover but never did. Through my careful guidance and financial support, Victoria continued, James and Rebecca have created a business empire worth $2 million. From their first small startup to their current portfolio of 15 thriving companies. James grabbed my hand under the table. He was sweating now, and I knew why. The letter from our biggest creditor had arrived yesterday, demanding immediate payment of $800,000. The restaurant chain, the tech startups, the real estate holdings. Victoria gestured expansively. All funded by my investments, all carefully nurtured under my financial expertise. What investments? The words left my mouth before I could stop them, clear and sharp in the elegant room. Victoria's perfect smile flickered. Rebecca, darling, not now. Actually, now it's perfect. I stood up, my black evening gown rustling. Since you're announcing our success to everyone, let's talk about these investments. The room went silent except for the soft clink of crystal glasses. 200 of Boston's elite waited for the drama to unfold. The restaurant chain you mentioned, I continued, pulling out the first document. 3 locations, all failing. Would you like to show everyone proof of your investment? Because our books show we mortgaged our house to open them. Victoria's smile became fixed. Rebecca, this isn't the time for tedious financial details. The tech startups? I pressed on. 5 of them, all running on maxed-out credit cards and loans from friends. Not a single dollar from you. James stood up beside me, his voice shaking. Mom, what are you doing? The real estate holdings? I laughed bitterly. You mean the properties we're about to lose because we believed your promises to fund the down payments. Victoria gripped the podium. I don't know what you're talking about. My investments are all properly documented. Show us. I opened my clutch bag wider. Because I have every financial record for the past 10 years right here. Every promise you made, every investment you claimed, every dollar you never actually gave us. The crowd began to murmur. I saw James's cousin Philip, a banking executive, lean forward with sudden interest. He'd been asking questions about our business structure for months. $2 million, I repeated Victoria's claim. That's what you just told everyone we're worth. Would you like to explain to them that we're actually $8 million in debt? James's face had gone pale. 8 million. The final numbers came in yesterday, I told him gently. All those expansion loans your mother promised to cover, the supplier contracts she said she'd guarantee, none of it was real. Victoria attempted to regain control. There's been a misunderstanding. My investment portfolio doesn't exist. I finished. I hired a forensic accountant. There are no investments, no portfolio, no family money. Just a decade of lies that drove us deeper and deeper into debt. The elegant anniversary celebration had become a public exposure of decade-long deception. Victoria's carefully maintained image as the wealthy matriarch who built her son's business empire was collapsing in real time. You pushed us to expand, James said, realization dawning. Every time we wanted to slow down, to build sustainably, you pushed for more. Bigger locations, more startups, higher-end properties. Because I believed in your potential, Victoria protested. I wanted you to have everything. Everything we couldn't afford, I cut in. Everything you promised to fund but never did. Do you know how many families depend on these businesses? How many employees are about to lose their jobs because we believed your lies? Philip stood up from his table. Vicky, is this why you've been asking me to fast-track those business loans? Using my name at the bank. Victoria's composure cracked slightly. Philip, darling, I can explain. The elegant ballroom had become suffocatingly quiet as Philip strode to the podium. I've got 3 loans pending for your investment group, he said, his banker's calm masking obvious anger. Loans you guaranteed with supposedly existing assets. Victoria's perfect makeup couldn't hide her rising panic. Those assets are merely, temporarily illiquid. They're non-existent, I corrected, pulling out more documents. Just like the trust fund you claimed would fund our first restaurant. Just like the family investment portfolio you used to convince suppliers to extend us credit. James had taken the bankruptcy petition from my clutch, reading through the devastating details. 342 employees, he whispered. All about to lose their jobs because we built on lies. The crowd of Boston's elite shifted from uncomfortable silence to active interest. I saw phones being pulled out, text messages flying. Victoria's reputation as a wealthy widow who built business empires was well known in these circles. How many other promises had she made? The Richardson deal, called out someone from the back. Vicky, you promised to back their expansion too. The Murray family startup. The Cooper real estate development. Names and projects started flying across the room. Victoria's web of promises apparently extended far beyond our family. I've been documenting everything, I announced, my voice carrying over the growing chaos. Every promise, every guaranteed investment, every claim of family wealth. 10 years of financial fiction that's about to destroy real people's lives. Victoria tried one last time to maintain control. My dear friends, there's been a misunderstanding. My financial advisor is fictional too, I interrupted. The office address you gave us, it's a vacant storefront, has been for 15 years. Philip scrolled through his phone, his face growing darker. The bank's fraud department needs to see this. All of it. James stood up, his voice stronger now. How many other families, Mom? How many other businesses did you push into expansion with promises you couldn't keep? The answer came from the crowd itself as more people stood up, sharing stories of Victoria's promised investments and guarantees. The total amount was staggering. $40 million, Philip calculated, looking up from his phone. That's the total amount of business loans and expansions Vicky has promised to back in the past 5 years alone. Victoria's carefully constructed world of financial illusions was crumbling. Her designer dress seemed to deflate as she sank into a nearby chair. I only wanted to help, she whispered, to make everyone successful. By lying? James asked. By pushing us all into debt we can't handle. By making promises that are destroying people's lives. I opened my laptop, displaying a spreadsheet I created. Here's the real status of our 15 businesses. The staff will have to let go. The suppliers who won't get paid. The leases will have to break. All because we believed your promises of backing that never existed. The anniversary celebration had become a public reckoning. Victoria's decades-long performance as the wealthy, business-savvy matriarch was exposed as an elaborate fiction that had trapped dozens of families in unsustainable debt. The bankruptcy trustee needs to see all of this, Philip said, photographing my documents. Every promise, every guaranteed loan, every fictional investment. Victoria stood up suddenly, grabbing her designer purse. I need to make some calls. Sit down, Mom, James said firmly. You're not running from this. Not anymore. 6 months after the anniversary party revelations, we sat in what remained of our main office, surrounded by liquidation notices and severance packages. The once bustling headquarters of our business empire was now a ghost town of empty desks and disconnected phones. The bankruptcy trustee finished the final audit, James said, reviewing the thick report. Total damage, $12 million in debt, not 8 like we thought. Mom's promises ran even deeper than we knew. The fallout had been devastating but clarifying. Victoria's web of financial fantasies had ensnared not just our businesses, but dozens of others in Boston's business community. The forensic accountants had traced 20 years of fictional investments, phantom guarantees, and elaborate lies. Philip's bank identified 37 loans she guaranteed with non-existent assets, I noted, updating our documentation. They're pursuing criminal charges for bank fraud. Victoria now resided in a small condo, Her mansion had been seized by creditors. Her designer wardrobe had been sold at auction, along with the luxury cars and jewelry she used to maintain her illusion of wealth. The Employee Assistance Program is helping, James said quietly. At least 80% of our staff found new positions through the placement service. We managed to save 2 of the smaller restaurants by selling everything else. The tech startups had been acquired for pennies on the dollar, their assets absorbed by larger companies. The real estate holdings were long gone, foreclosed or surrendered to lenders. The support group keeps growing, I mentioned, checking my phone. 3 more families came forward yesterday, all victims of Mom's promised investments. We'd started meeting weekly with other affected business owners, sharing resources and helping each other navigate the aftermath of Victoria's deceptions. The total impact of her fictional fortune had reached far beyond our family. The therapist says it's a form of narcissistic financial abuse, James explained, reading from his notes. She created this persona of the wealthy, business-savvy matriarch and kept escalating the lies to maintain it. Victoria attended mandatory counseling as part of her plea agreement with prosecutors. The elegant society widow who once held court at charity galas now sat in group therapy, learning to confront decades of deception. You know what's ironic? I said, looking around our empty office. The 2 restaurants we saved. They're the ones we started small, before your mom got involved. The ones we built honestly, within our means. James nodded. Before she pushed us to expand too fast, borrow too much, believe in money that didn't exist. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through our soon-to-be surrendered office space. Everything around us represented lessons learned the hard way about trust, truth, and the danger of building businesses on promises instead of reality. The prosecutor offered a deal, I mentioned, pulling out the latest legal update. If she cooperates fully, documents every false promise, helps them track down all the victims, they'll recommend minimum security. Victoria's carefully constructed world hadn't just collapsed, it had imploded, taking down countless others who believed in her fictional fortune. The society pages now told a different story. Prominent widow's empire of lies claims dozens of victims. We're rebuilding, James said firmly. Smaller this time, honestly. No more phantom investors, no more expansion on promises. The 2 surviving restaurants were doing well, operating within their means. We'd learned to appreciate slow, sustainable growth, a lesson that cost us nearly everything to learn. The hardest part wasn't losing the businesses, I admitted. It was facing the employees, the suppliers, all the people who trusted us because we trusted her. But from the ashes of Victoria's financial fiction, something real was emerging. Our weekly support group had evolved into a business network, helping each other rebuild on foundations of truth rather than illusion. As we packed up the last boxes from our failed empire, we knew the real wealth wasn't in Victoria's fictional millions, but in the hard-earned wisdom of knowing that authentic success, however modest, beats magnificent lies every time.